There's a button in sci-fi writing that, when pressed, blows up a planet. Filmmakers love this button. It's been pressed by Palpatine, the Covenant, the Borg, and several Star Trek antagonists you may have already forgotten. And yet, there is no reason for it to exist. So why does the genre keep spending fortunes on planet killers when a rock would do the job for free? The reasoning might surprise you, so let's start with the dumbest one. When you blow up a planet, you can be blowing up something you own. Take Alderaan in A New Hope. Everyone remembers Leia talking about how peaceful Alderaan is and that they have no weapons. Can't deny that. It was also a core world. Core worlds are the richest planets in the galaxy, Coruscant tier. They paid the most tax and housed the most industry in the entire empire. Alderaan was on that list. Wait a minute, rich people on a list? Hey, hang on, does that ring a bell to anyone? So when the Empire blew them up, they vaporized one of the richest planets in their own tax base to send a message to a senator they had already captured. Hey, hold on, vaporizing a rich entity to send a message? I've seen this before. The political return on investment is a smoldering crater where a major contributor to your war machine used to be. And it's not just Star Wars. The Covenant in Halo run the same con. Their religion tells them humans are heretics who deserve eradication, so they spend the entire war glassing human colonies. Glassing means parking their ships in orbit, bombarding the surface until the planet's crust literally fuses into glass. It takes days, sometimes weeks, and it ties up hundreds of warships per planet, I would guess. Hundreds of warships per planet, sitting still in orbit, 4 weeks, while the rest of the Covenant fleet is supposed to be running a galaxy-wide religious war. And the kicker is that they actually wanted some of these planets. The Covenant only ever bothered to leave parts of a planet intact when they discovered a Forerunner artifact buried there. Their own religious texts told them not to destroy these artifacts. So they had to stop and dig, which means the standing Covenant policy was, cover the whole planet in molten glass unless we accidentally find something we actually need. In which case, we'll think about it. The destroyer pays the bill, and the bill is enormous. But what if I told you, you don't even need planet destroyers? The cheap version of planet destruction already exists. It's been sitting on the shelf the whole time. Sci-fi just refuses to use it. Go to Knights of the Old Republic. Set thousands of years before the films, Darth Malik's fleet rolls up to Telos 4, demands the planet surrender, gets refused, and then just bombards the surface with regular capital ships. Nothing exotic. By the time they're done, the atmosphere is acid vapor, the rain melts skin, and all surface life is dead. No Death Star required. The whole tech tree was capital ships and 3 to 5 business days of patience. The Expanse does something similar, really. Okay, no, not really, but his is even easier. Marco Inaros wants to wipe out Earth. He takes some asteroids, slaps a thruster on them, coats them in stealth material so radar can't see them coming, and flings them at the planet. 3 rocks hit. It's described in-universe as the worst terrorist attack and largest loss of life in human history. 3 rocks. And the rocks weren't custom made. He picked them up off the asteroid belt like loose change. That's gonna matter later, so remember it. And screw it, let's go with another example that's even cheaper. In Battlestar Galactica, the Cylons want to end humanity. So they line up those sweet old base stars, fire conventional nukes at 12 colonized planets simultaneously, and by the time the cold open of the miniseries ends, the colonies are gone. Off-the-shelf nukes and off-the-shelf warships. Okay, maybe the rocks were a bit cheaper. Every spacefaring civilization in fiction is already standing on the cheap option to ending a world. And yet, nobody in Star Wars has ever once said the obvious thing, which is, gentlemen, we could just throw a rock at it. So that closes the strategic part, but just the strategic part. Because from here on out, everything is a consequence of destroying planets. You might not ever want to destroy one after hearing this, but you weren't thinking about doing that, right? The first consequence is something that has killed franchises before. Once you destroy a planet, the next threat has to be bigger. Always. You moved the floor, showed some spectacle, but that doesn't mean the next threat has to be physically bigger. It can be emotionally as well. Watch Empire Strikes Back. The biggest stake in the entire film is one hand. Luke loses his hand to his father. The Empire had a Death Star in the previous film. They scaled the threat down to one piece of one character, and it worked. The hand was about Luke. The Death Star was about a planet. The hand hit harder. But Hold on to that hand, there's something interesting about it that we'll get back on later. The hand is the part the films almost never manage again. Rise of Skywalker is the cautionary tale. Palpatine returns, then there's a Sith cult, then there's a hidden fleet, then the fleet is hundreds of Star Destroyers, then each one has its own planet-killing super laser, then they destroy Kijimi to demonstrate. A planet most of the audience couldn't pick out of a lineup. I know I couldn't. But the Death Star is now the baseline, and the audience already saw 3. Mass Effect runs the same pattern across 3 games. Mass Effect 1 introduces Sovereign, a single ship that could end the entire cycle of civilization. Mass Effect 2 reveals there's a whole fleet of Sovereigns waiting in dark space. Mass Effect 3 has them attacking every planet in the galaxy at once. By the end, the writers were inventing entire new entities just to make the threat feel big again. The fans are still mad. They're mad about a lot of things. Once you reach Galactic, you can't scale back. You can only go bigger physically or smaller emotionally. The feeling of spectacle will calm the audience, or the feeling of emotions will calm them. It's always one of the two. If you don't get either one, your franchise is gonna have some sweet, sweet hate videos. You know the ones. You know the ones on YouTube. But if you think a franchise is hit the hardest, think again. The impact planet-destroying motivations have on villains make it way worse. Try this. Pick 5 sci-fi antagonists with a planet killer. Palpatine, the Reapers, the Covenant, the Borg Queen, and Nero from Star Trek 2009. Now, describe them without the weapon, what they're like outside the role of menace. Can you do it? I mean, I could for a little bit, but I may not be the biggest nerd out there. I'm sure someone in the comments will claim that throne. What stood out to me is that the Borg Queen lived in a cube and assimilates. Nero is a man whose entire personality is, my planet died. Palpatine is just raw power in a hood, and you can rearrange them across films and they still kinda just work. A Reaper in a Halo cutscene grunting about cleansing, the Borg Queen showing up in Star Wars muttering about resistance being futile. It would make for some cool crossovers, not gonna lie. Though my personal take does remain. The threat is identical, and the character is just whatever fits the universe's costume department. Khan never had this problem. Khan wants Kirk. Specifically, he's read Moby Dick. He's got Ricardo Montalban's chest open most of the runtime. He has lieutenants he actually argues with. He uses an ear parasite as a torture device. He shouts the word Khan into space in a moment so specific the audience has been mocking it lovingly for years. Oh, wait, no, that was Kirk. My bad. Who the hell would scream their own name out? Khan is a person. He has bad days, he has favorite books, he loses the fight, and Spock dies anyway. And the film still has more emotional weight than every Death Star moment combined. Now try it the other way. Nero shows up, blows up Vulcan, gets sucked into a black hole. Try to picture his face. The Borg Queen shows up, threatens humanity, gets dissolved. Try to remember anything she said. The villain hands the weapon their personality and never gets it back. The genre kept doing this anyway though, for decades. And in one franchise, very briefly, the writers tried to actually make it work. Can you guess which one? Okay, I'll show you. The brief was, don't make Death Star 3. What do? They made Death Star 3, but this time, the setup actually had a real reason. The First Order is a tiny faction, a leftover splinter cult operating out of unknown space with a fraction of the resources the old Empire had. The Republic just demilitarized. Most of the galaxy thinks the war is over. The First Order has almost nothing. So, they pour everything they have into one weapon, Starkiller Base, a converted ice planet with a single overwhelming super laser. The premise is asymmetric leverage. You can't beat us in a fight, so we don't fight. We hold a gun to the galaxy's head, and the galaxy gives us what we want. Clever, the kind of thing that could justify the superweapon for one film and make my entire video obsolete. Which it might already be because you have some counterpoints, but hold on there for just a second. Their idea was clever. Then they immediately broke it. The first thing the First Order does with their one button is destroy the Hosnian system, the seat of the New Republic. Gone in one shot. That's just shooting the hostage. You can't hold a gun to the galaxy's head if the hostage is already dead. They had a weapon that could have ransomed an empire, and they used it to kill the people they were ransoming. The weapon got blown up by a man with a midlife crisis 40 minutes later. Mass Effect ran the same play, but we've already talked about that. Still gonna recap it as quickly as I can because it makes my point clearer. Mass Effect 1 had Sovereign, a single overwhelming machine that could end an entire civilization, and the galaxy can't fight back because Sovereign is just that much bigger. Then Mass Effect 2 ends with the reveal that there are thousands of them in dark space, meaning every plot point in the first game reads differently. Two franchises tried to do the trope honestly. Both threw it out before the sequel. Does that mean it's never been done right? Absolutely not. And the reason why will surprise you. We have to put the analysis down for a second and admit something. Sci-Fi isn't a documentary about military strategy or something logical. It's mythic storytelling, and there are real things planet destruction can do that nothing smaller can pull off. Watching the Death Star destroy Alderaan in A New Hope teaches you the rules of the galaxy in 2 minutes. By the time the green beam hits, you know what the Empire is and what the Resistance is up against. Strip Alderaan out, and the film plays as political oppression. Put it back in, and you're watching genocide on an industrial scale. The destruction is doing world-building work. No amount of dialogue could do that, right? It also scales the hero. If the antagonist can level a world, the hero stopping them matters at the same proportion. Take that off the table, and the hero is no longer, well, saving the world, or planet, or whatever. If the enemy has a weapon that's only threatening the city, say the size of Detroit, it would lack emotional weight. Not like anyone would ever really want to save Detroit. I mean, they'd be doing us a massive favor, actually. A massive one, now that I think about it. But anyway. Then there's the one example where the planet-destroying sequence really lands. When it's beautifully tied to a person, planet destruction does mythic work nothing else in the genre can match. Star Trek 2009 destroys Vulcan. There's no strategic reason, and I don't think there was any military logic either. Nero just drops a black hole on Spock's home planet because his own home planet died. He wants someone else to feel it, and it works. It works because we watched Spock grow up there. We watched his mother die. Every choice Spock makes in the rest of the film, every moment between him and Kirk is downstream of that one scene. Battlestar Galactica did this too. Like we said earlier, the audience wept for the people they'd just been introduced to, not just for the planets. So yes, sometimes the trope earns its place. Sometimes the planet killer is the only weapon that does the job. But this is also where most sci-fi gets it wrong. Almost every time a film reaches for this trope, the writer is using it as a shortcut around the mythic work. Vulcan works because the destruction is about a person. Caprica gets there because we knew the people about to die. Everything else is just the button being pressed to please the audience with some sick visuals. But the reason writers keep coming back for it might not be as surprising. You decide for yourself. What I think it comes back to is that writers don't trust us. They don't trust that the cheaper options will scare us or move us or stick. Which is funny because the cheap options have been landing for decades. The Expanse made the audience flinch when 3 rocks hit Earth. Battlestar broke the entire fan base with conventional nukes. Three Body Problem has a weapon that turns a chunk of the solar system from 3D into 2D. And it is one of the most disturbing things sci-fi has ever put on a page. None of those needed a Death Star. The audience is already scared, right? Well, still, the genre is still arming up. And the data is right there. Independence Day in 1996 grossed over $800 million, with city-sized ships you could actually hold in your head. Independence Day Resurgence in 2016 brought back a planet-sized mothership and grossed less than half of that. Bigger threat, worse box office. The audience told them. The audience told everyone. It's not about how big it is, it's about what you actually do with it. No, wait, that's what my wife said. Smaller stuff can be hard to sell in pitch room meetings and first dates.
What do you mean by that?
And in those rooms, you want to pitch full-scale CGI stuff, showing off futuristic tech, even better than your competitors, allowing for sick movie trailers and millions of dollars in profit and strippers and cocaine. Went off the rails a little bit there, my bad. But in the end, sci-fi is a genre about going further. Bigger ships, weirder physics, strange worlds, the occasional alien with a face full of teeth. It's supposed to push. What makes it land is the emotional feeling the audience has. Always has been. A rock with a thruster scared us because we knew the people standing under it. Vulcan landed because Spock did. Caprica got us because we just watched the people on it brush their teeth. The size of the explosion was never the thing. So next time a script wheels out a planet killer, The question is whether the writer did the relationship work to make the weapon land. If the relationship work is there, fine. The trope has earned its place. If it's not there, just throw a rock. Do you agree? Well, if you do, you might also agree with the most misunderstood concept in science fiction. Click here to find out what it is.